Hello, Reformed mythologist Nate Morgan-Locke here with breaking news. Music festival crowds sing along to popular song. That's right. Last Saturday afternoon at Worthy Farm in Glastonbury, tens of thousands of Lewis Capaldi fans sang along to his most successful pop hit. Wow. Big deal. But before you rage comment below that I'm a monster and have entirely missed the point, that this was instead something to remind us of the enduring power of the human spirit, before you comment, let me say that I like Lewis Capaldi. And this isn't really about him anyway. It's a story about the crowd, about us, and about how we express ourselves by the stories we tell. It is a little bit about Lewis Capaldi though, as we'll dive into here. On Saturday, 24th of June 2023, Scottish Beyoncé, lovable 26-year-old Lewis Mark Capaldi, cut short his set on the Pyramid stage at the Glastonbury Festival because he was unable to continue. To close his abbreviated performance, the crowd sang along by themselves in a move the BBC called a beautiful and touching example of the Glastonbury spirit. It's very easy to get carried away with this sort of talk at festivals though. Mr. Capaldi has had this experience before. In fact, it's quite a common one for him. He starts to play his hit song, Someone You Loved, before he lets the crowd take over. Here it is happening at Glastonbury in 2019.
But now that I was getting kinda used to be.
And here it happens somewhere else. And somewhere else. It is a very common experience for crowds at music festivals to sing along with songs they know the words to, and performers will often hand the microphone over and turn the audience into a choir. It's really very common indeed. Something slightly different was happening last Saturday though, and the framing of this particular occasion tapped into a deeply cultural mythos that us 21st century Brits would love to be true. We'll come to exactly what that is in just a moment. Until last Saturday, I couldn't have named a single one of Lewis Capaldi's songs. But then I watched his Netflix documentary, How I'm Feeling Now, and then his 2023 Glastonbury set. Lewis Capaldi is a very 21st century hero. He's so relatable. He's one of the lads. He comes from a small town in Scotland. He drinks pints of lager and complains about having to eat salad. He uses swear words and collects professional wrestling cards. He's a very funny man with a loving family, and he's just like us in every way. Apart from the fact that he's an extraordinarily gifted songwriter and performer with millions of Instagram followers and billions of downloads on Spotify. The Netflix documentary showed how in 2020 he was suffering from a mercifully rare condition, second album syndrome. This is what happens when a fresh young artist is recognised for their talent and then thrust onto the world stage. They become famous. Their lives are thrown into turmoil as the pressure of living up to people's expectations starts to hit. You haven't changed, but the world around you has. Everyone treats you differently now. First albums are easy. Nobody knows you're writing them, and you have no pressure. You have the luxury of a couple of decades of life experience to use as subject matter. But second albums, eesh! Record labels are reminding you of the deadline. Everyone is trying to arrange collabs with the hottest young thing on the block, and all the while you're busy touring like mad, sprinting between media engagements and trying, where possible, to actually enjoy some of the fruits of your success. So the second album often leads to songs about the challenges of being famous, about the pressures to meet everybody's expectations, the feeling of being an imposter, a pretender, self-doubt, and an existential crisis. This story happens over and over and over again. Fame is difficult. Be careful what you wish for. There's an enduring story at play here. It's something like the story of Midas and his golden touch. Initially a blessing, but quickly a curse. Many celebrities have chimed in on the Pandora's box of fame. Actor and NFL fan Rob Lowe says, "Fame is the only drug for which there is no 12-step program." Pet detective and blue hedgehog hunter Jim Carrey said once in an interview, "I wish everyone could get rich and famous and have everything they ever dreamed of so that they would know that that's not the answer." And the OG, that's original Galadriel, Cate Blanchett said, "If I had my way, if I was lucky enough, if I could be on the brink my entire life, that great sense of expectation and excitement without the disappointment, that would be the perfect state." And she won an Oscar. Hey, sorry to interrupt myself, but I just wanted to tell you about the next Foundry Intensive happening here in Eastbourne at our Speak Live studios between the 18th and the 22nd of September 2023. There'll be a link below, but when you come, which of course you will, you'll be able to choose your very own coffee cup combo. You can even pick some hideous monstrosity like this one. We'll be thinking about proclaiming the gospel and being storytellers of the gospel, and Glenn Scrivener and I will both be speaking, as will Christian spoken word artist Mike Hood, and a Christian who designs orcs for Warhammer for a living. Click the link below and join us when you can. Back to me. Anyway, back to Lewis Capaldi. Around 2020, as he began to feel the pressure of making his second album, his anxiety manifested itself in tics and panic attacks. In spring 2022, he was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. I must say, I like Lewis Capaldi. He's no Taylor Swift, but I like him a lot. He reminds me of stand-up comedian Peter Kay, and I may have even welled up listening to one or two of his songs. Not a monster. And seeing him look out at the Glastonbury crowd, taking in the limits his anxiety placed on his performance, you really feel for the man. You want to give him a hug and tell him it's okay. He doesn't need to be a pop star anymore. If it's too much to deal with, that's fine. Nay bother. Which brings us to the Glastonbury 2023 performance and the social media framing around it. And this is where we see the real mythos kick in. The story goes like this. Relatable hero Lewis Capaldi starts to sing one of his songs. The crowd realise he's struggling with his tics. They join in to rescue him and they relieve him of the burden. Lewis Capaldi, the tragic hero, went down into the pit and the crowd rescued him. This is the story we want to live by. We are the hero. At his weakest moment, in his hour of need, he looks to the crowd to finish the song. A man suffering on stage, complaining about his voice and apologising for messing up everyone's afternoon. A humble hero, a fellow sufferer. The crowd carried him. What else were the crowd going to do? Boo him off stage? Boo, you've got Tourette's. Stand in silence. Head back to their tents. The Glastonbury crowd as hero myth is a distortion of the good news we actually need. Tragically, it's exactly the kind of myth that leads us further away from the gospel. Our post-Christian age craves transcendence, and standing in a field in the summertime in Somerset singing songs together is the closest thing to a religious experience that many people have. That says something about humanity. Real salvation is not simply, I'm empty, fill me, or I'm broken, heal me. It also includes, I'm sinful, forgive me. The crowd singing Lewis Capaldi's song when he couldn't is not remarkable. It's the very least they could do. So the Lewis Capaldi Glastonbury 2023 news story is ideal for an egocentric culture in which our heroes are so relatable they actually need us to rescue them. This is the Demos hero, a culture god. Think of Maui or Prometheus. They stole us fire from the overlords, and we want ordinary heroes. But we don't want them to save us. We're happiest when we can save them, when the salvation is mutual. Like Narcissus, we have fallen in love with our own reflection, or the echo of our own voices. We need a word from outside of ourselves. We do need a relatable hero. We need an Emmanuel, which means God with us, God in human flesh. But he also needs to be Jesus, who saves us from our sin. The one who stoops into our pit, lifts us onto his shoulders and carries us home. Incidentally, if you do want to shout out the heroes of Glastonbury, let's not forget all those people with other people on their shoulders. Oh sure, I'll stand here in the middle of a heaving crowd on the hottest day of the year, literally carrying you on my shoulders so you can get a better view, take a selfie, and possibly get on the telly. That's a true gospel. That's what we need to save us. Anyway, that's probably enough. Please remember that media is optional. You are under no obligation to attend expensive music festivals or listen to Lewis Capaldi. I'm Reformed mythologist Nate Morgan Locke. I'm glad you were here.